FBI put out a warning today that organized crime from Russia is now the greatest long-term threat to the security of the United States. FBI Director Louis Freeh told Congress the Russian mafia is operating worldwide and it might even become a nuclear threat. Correspondent Jim Stewart has the story.
Warring Russian crime gangs are spreading to the United States, the FBI said today. And making matters worse, they appear to be shopping for a nuclear bomb back home.
We are gravely concerned Russian organized crime members may have already attained or will attain the capacity to steal nuclear weapons.
FBI Director Louis Freeh said he's moved nuclear proliferation to the top of his worry list and will travel to Russia and Eastern Europe next month to open an FBI office in Moscow. Russia's top crime fighter told the Senate today the worry was justified given the spread of Eurasian crime groups.
According to the information that we have, there are 24 groups operating in the U.S. territory.
Moe says the FBI have organized themselves into criminal families in 11 U.S. cities, with New York and Los Angeles having the largest. But it is the Russian gang's interest in the dismantling of the old Soviet nuclear empire that most worries U.S. officials.
We have a situation where literally thousands of nuclear scientists do not know how they're going to provide adequately for their families, but they certainly do know how to make nuclear weapons.
The gnawing fear is that the loosely guarded Russian nuclear material might fall into the hands of criminals who would sell it to the highest bidder, with no one even knowing.
We're not even sure that the Russians can know whether anything is missing. The Russian accounting system, at least for plutonium and highly enriched uranium, is virtually non-existent.
Also virtually non-existent is any good intelligence on how the Russian gangs are organized, which is leading to a partnership that would have been unheard of a few years ago, an FBI Russian police task force on organized crime. Jim Stewart, CBS News at the FBI.
The accused money man of the Medellin cocaine cartel was arraigned today in Atlanta. Eduardo Martinez Romero pleaded innocent to charges that he laundered millions of dollars in drug money through U.S. banks. The judge refused to set bail. Prosecutors had argued that Martinez had access to so much drug money that he could pay any amount of bail and then flee the country. In Colombia itself, there is increasing resistance from the drug cartel to this campaign against them by their government. Among other things, the reality of extradition is sinking in, and the cartel's response is becoming increasingly violent. ABC's Peter Collins is there.
The ex-mayor of Medellin, the home of the drug cartel, did not stand a chance. Early today, his BMW was cut off by two cars. Two gunmen jumped out and riddled his vehicle with automatic weapons. The ex-mayor and his driver were killed instantly. Last August, with two other prominent leaders, the former mayor had organized a day of protest against the violence in Medellin. The other two, a police chief and a presidential candidate, have already been assassinated. 12 other persons were assassinated in Medellin over the weekend. 5 bombs were set off and 18 vehicles burned. But the Colombian government continues its crackdown. The army seized more property belonging to 2 of Colombia's top 3 drug lords, Gonzalo Rodriguez Gacha and Pablo Escobar. This so-called fantasy island in the middle of a river belongs to Gacha. Along with a private dock and carefully tended grounds, the island features a large, comfortable house and other buildings. Not far away on shore, Gacha's ranch was also seized, complete with herds of cattle bearing his brand. This high-security prison will be the temporary home for 3 more alleged criminals Colombia has agreed to extradite to the United States. They are 2 men and a woman accused of laundering drug money, but none is a major figure in the drug cartels. Peter Collins, ABC News, Bogota, Colombia.
And in Colombia, more bloodshed, despite an appeal from a leading drug baron. Radio reports say 2 undercover drug agents were killed by narcotics hit squads in the town of Cali as another bomb rocked the city of Medellin. Tom Shell is in Bogota with the latest on this drug war.
This morning's headline says, everyone is awaiting the fate of El Espectador. The newspaper is under heavy pressure from the cocaine dealers to stop publishing here in Colombia. 2 management employees of El Espectador were assassinated earlier this week in separate attacks in Medellin, home of one major drug cartel. And the drug lords ordered the newspaper's Medellin office to close. Yesterday, the Colombian army displayed dynamite and automatic weapons that were found on the farm of Gonzalo Rodriguez Gacha, a powerful member of the cartel. Meanwhile, police announced the arrest of 2 men wanted in the United States. Leonidas Vargas reportedly handles drug production for Gotcha, and Jose Rafael Abello faces drug trafficking charges in Tulsa, Oklahoma. The Bogota newspaper La Prensa received a letter from Pablo Escobar, head of the Medellin Cartel, asking the editor to mediate with the Colombian government. Escobar restated a proposal that drug production and violence would stop if the government calls off the crackdown on the cocaine operations. The proposal was rejected. Today, 1,000 newspapers throughout the Western Hemisphere are publishing a common editorial in support of Colombian journalists and urging the Colombian government to protect them. Tom Schell, ABC News, Bogota, Colombia.
Another Colombian federal court judge was assassinated today, apparently by drug thugs. This murder took place in Medellin, home base for one of the world's biggest drug and violence outfits. CBS News correspondent Richard Schlesinger is in Colombia, where the judges are asking for justice and protection.
Judge Hector Jimenez Rodriguez was killed outside his house as he waited for a ride to work early this morning. Jimenez was the first judge killed since Colombia declared war on drug traffickers. Shortly after Jimenez died at a local hospital, a group claiming to represent the drug dealers took responsibility for the murder and said it was in retaliation for continuing extradition of drug suspects to the U.S. In Bogota this afternoon, the Judges Association called a 3-day nationwide strike to protest the killing.
The national government, although it promised us protection, hasn't done anything yet. And we keep going with no protection. We don't want to be cannon fodder.
The Judges Association will talk to the government about increased protection and says it may strike for more than 3 days if they don't get it. Estimates are that effective security for the judges may cost between $10 and $20 million, money this country does not have. The U.S. has pledged $5 million for protection of Colombian judges, but the first shipment of security equipment didn't go to the judges. It went to U.S. Embassy personnel. Using Colombian Justice Ministry figures, Judge Jimenez is the 51st judge to be killed since 1982. Richard Schlesinger, CBS News, Bogota.
A spokesman for President Bush said today the administration is trying to work out an understanding with Congress that could make it easier to support a future coup or even murder attempt against Panama's Manuel Noriega. Under a 13-year-old executive order, the United States may not become involved in assassination plots. But CIA Director Webster says that order has been interpreted to bar U.S. aid to any plot that might lead to the death of a foreign leader. And he says that may be too strict. Asked if a looser rule would have made a difference in Panama, Webster said he didn't know, but he said it might make a difference the next time if some plotter decides he has to, quote, take Noriega out.
Prostitution in Chicago is estimated to be a $75 million a year industry. The FBI has spent 4 years investigating who profits from this illegal activity, and their undercover sting has turned up links with local organized crime figures and has cracked a cocaine ring as an offshoot. The front of the sting was a credit card processing company that handled some $30 million in payments to suburban sex clubs. Authorities say the probe, known as Operation Safe Bet, found that many customers, including businessmen, charged bills at sex clubs to credit cards and sometimes claimed the bills as write-offs for tax.
First of all, the grand jury is investigating the members of organized crime that we can tie in to the operation of these prostitution rings by their demands for extortion payments of money in order to protect the prostitution operations and other illegal activity. In addition to that, we fully intend to prosecute the owners and operators of the liquor establishments that were operating the prostitution rings.
The investigation is now in the hands of the grand jury, and authorities are expected to begin making arrests within days.